Yeah, please.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. President, you've said the war is, quote, very complete, but your defense secretary says this is just the beginning. So which is it, and how long should Americans be
Well,
prepared
I think
for
you could
this war
say
to
it
last
both.
for?
It's the beginning. It's the beginning of building a new country, but they certainly.
Shalom. Once again, all praises, honor, and glory unto the Most High. Yahweh Ba'asham, Yahweh Shai Ba'asham Rakakwadash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of the Grace Stone, and salutations to all you sincere camp. And this is your brother Abawan back again with another video. Through the spirit and power of Yahweh Ba'asham, Yahweh Shai Ba'asham Rakakwadash, all praises and glory is due, especially in the times that we're in. And in these times, we are seeing the lies and the deception of Esau Edom unravel in real time, right? Because this is a press conference going into the war in Iran, and basically Trump's press conference of the war in Iran, and he just spent the last 16 minutes of this press conference speaking about how they've completely decimated the Iranian regime. They've completely decimated the Iranian regime, right? That it has gone down to the last few leaders, that basically there is no leadership in the Iranian regime anymore, that the war has been a resounding success, and so on and so forth, okay? And then you heard the announcer come up and say, but the Secretary of War, not Defense, because the Department of Defense has been changed into exactly what it actually is, the Department of War. So you can clearly see, right, that the lies and the deception of Esau Edom is completely coming away, okay? These lies and the deception of Esau Edom is completely coming away, okay? It is no longer the Department of Defense. Is now the Department of War. So it's not the Secretary of Defense. Pete Hegseth, it's the Secretary of War, okay? And Pete Hegseth went on to say that the war is really just beginning. So you see an inconsistency, right, in the narrative concerning this war. And it's not just in Donald Trump's words, but it's also in the reporting and the news coming out of in this war, right? Because what you have been hearing is that the US casualties are in a minimum. The US has been destroying and decimating the Iranian forces, and the Iranian forces have been dwindling. But we also just heard. I also got a report from Iran state media that basically Iran has hit all their major targets within the Middle East, right? They just destroyed a US, multiple US military bases. They also destroyed a US and they also destroyed a satellite, a US satellite base, right? That's basically the radio tower that was the radio tower that was being used to target different Iranian military points for the bombing campaigns, right? And you've also heard reports of them putting mines in the Strait of Hormuz. In fact, I recently was just watching a video before I even did this one, and it was going into how it wasn't really a video; it was more of a post. I saw a post that was going into Iran's conditions for Trump's surrender, right? And basically, the conditions was that, well, at least part of the conditions was that Trump would basically Trump would withdraw all their troops from the Middle East and also remove their bases in the Middle East, right? And that every single, I think it was even and that every single U.S. official, right? That is, every single U.S. official that is in the Middle East would also have to withdraw. And they also set up a condition for using the Strait of Hormuz, that if the nation removes all U.S. and Israeli officials from their borders, that they will be allowed to pass through the Strait of Hormuz, right? And we also know that Iran is still continuing their bombing campaigns on the different targets in the Middle East, and including in Israel as well, right? Because you're hearing news reports about major points in Israel getting hit. Netanyahu's bunker just got hit, right? I've forgotten where else in the state of Israel. So yeah, Netanyahu's bunker, Netanyahu's private um, home, or I think it was his home or something like that. It also got hit as well, right? But of course, you know that Netanyahu, Bibi isn't in Israel anymore. He moved to Berlin, right? Allegedly, of course. And it just shows you, the deception of Esau Edom. And this is the tools that he uses, the tools that have been given to him by the tools that he uses that shows that he is the wicked, which is his lying tongue. So let's get this. As it is written, that should be the book of Isaiah. The wicked are estranged from the womb. Let's get that. The wicked are estranged from the wombs. Psalms 58 verse 3. The wicked are estranged from the womb. They go astray as soon as they be born, speaking lies. And that is exactly what you always see when it comes to America, Babylon the Great, and when it comes to reports, especially nowadays, man, how it's so more difficult to separate the truth from the lies, especially when it comes to the news and when it comes to current events and the things that are happening. Of course, for us being the men of the Lord, there is no enchantment against Jacob, so we already know how to split the meat from the bones, and we already know how to separate the truth from the lies when it comes to this kingdom. But for everybody else, the average Jew, right, and the average person, inhabitor of this kingdom, they don't have that knowledge because the Spirit is not dealing with them. Okay, this is what you get when you are being ruled by the wicked. There is no truth, okay, in the world. The only truth that exists is in this truth. That's why it's called the truth, because everything else outside of the truth is deception. It's a lie. All right. And even if you know how Esau operates, right, he mixes the truth with the lies. Even when Esau comes out and admits the truth, he has to sprinkle in all manner of lies and deceptions, because this is how this devil operates. We just read it, right? Estranged from the womb, they go astray as soon as they be born, speaking lies. Romans 3 verse 3. For what if some do not believe? Right, because when you go out on the highways and byways, when you do the videos and the sit downs and you tell our people the truth, when you tell our people this is the truth, they still refuse to believe because they are still believing in the deceptions of America, Babylon the Great. They still believe in the lies of Esau Edom. You see these devils, you see that whenever they open their mouth, whenever they speak, all they speak is lies. You see us that in these last days, man, in real time, as soon as they speak, they are being fact checked, they are being corrected that what they are saying is deception, and you will still see these devils double down on it, right? Because he is the liar and the father of it, okay? But the truth is in the Most High, Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. Romans 3 verse 3. For what if some did not believe? Shall their unbelief make the faith of the Most High, Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, without effect? God forbid. Yea, let the Most High be true, but every man a liar, as it is written, that thou mightest be justified in thy sayings, and mightest be overcome when thou art judged. And we are in the times right now where the Most High Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, right, this truth, the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of the Most High Yahweh Hashem Yahushai is the truth, and every man is a liar, right? Because the operations of this kingdom is through deceit, okay? And there is no truth in this kingdom. There is only deceit. All right, let's get this precept. Let's go to the book of Nahum. So this is the book of Nahum 3 verse 1. Woe to the bloody city, it is all full of lies and robbery. The prey departeth not. Right. And we know about the blessing of Esau Edom being the sword. We can clearly see this devil is being wielding the sword mercilessly, right, throughout this past week, especially on the Persians, okay, the Iranians, showing you just how powerful, right, his blessing from the Most High is. And of course, even that in and of itself is limited, because you're already seeing these devils run out of this military power. And actually, all America, Babylon the Great has the missiles. That's why the scripture said that they cause fire to come down from heaven in the sight of men, right? That's the number one miracle these devils have. The America, Babylon the Great, using the missiles to sow fear in the hearts of the nations, to make it seem as though the US military is so powerful. But the missiles, right? These missiles are the only power the US military has. You already know if the ground troops get deployed in Iran, they're getting their asses beat, okay? It's not even going to be close. Esau's ground troops have never won any victory out here, man. They lost in Afghanistan, they lost in Iraq, they lost in Vietnam. The only reason they even managed to succeed in World War II is because the Russian. Hey, look, man, Esau's ground troops are trash, man. These devils, man. The only power they have is to be sending missiles from orbit to be destroying all their targets, right? That's the only power these devils have, okay? But that's part of the lies and the deception of Esau Edom, making you believe that they are powerful. That's why the scriptures say that this last kingdom, it was both weak and strong, parts iron and parts clay, right? Because it was both weak and strong, it always makes itself appear as though it is strong, even though it is far weaker than you would believe. And we're in those times right now, man, where the nations are beginning to see Esau Edom's weakness and beginning to understand that these devils are really at a low level, right? The main power, right, Esau Edom had was the power of the tongue, and it's through his media and his propaganda, making it seem as though that he was greater than all the other nations. But now the whole world is beginning to see these devils as the liars and the devils they actually are, right? False accusers, deceivers, slanderers, liars, okay? Because that's all these devils can do. That's what these devils can do. That's the power that they have been given on the left hand side, right? Deception, of course, right? Deception, and of course the sword as well. But hey, every other nation is also beginning to be able to wield that sword as well. Even Trump said it in that interview that Iran has their own Tomahawk missiles, which are the missiles that is believed to have destroyed that girls' school in Iran. So this is the book of Joel 3 verse 9. Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare war, wake up the mighty men, let all the men of war draw near, let them come up. Beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears, that the weak say I am strong. Right? Because everybody already sees it and everybody already knows, and it has been said multiple times. This is not 2003. This is not Iraq. This is not Afghanistan, right? The nations are tightening up their military. The nations are wielding the sword now. The nations, right, can fight back. And that's exactly what you're seeing happening with Iran. They are fighting back against the wickedness and the evil of against the wickedness and the warmongering of America, Babylon the Great, the warmongering of Esau Edom, okay? And even the deception and the lies of Esau Edom, because even the Iranians are coming out and speaking against, right, some of the propaganda, the deception that Esau is spewing against them. Oh, they are how did these devils say it again? Right, they are murdering and eating babies, they are cutting off babies' heads. The normal lies and tricks that Esau uses whenever he's dealing with, these Asian nations in West Asia, right? And I said the Middle East a couple of times. That was a mistake. Anyway, and this is how these devils operate, right? Always speaking lies, and that's really what propaganda is. And I've been meditating on making this video for a long time, but I didn't really know how to go about it because the propaganda, Lord, hey man, the propaganda has been disgusting, The propaganda that America, Babylon the Great has been pushing in ever since this war started has been disgusting, From the Iranian protesters to they are making nuclear weapons, all the way up to now. They are beheading children, they are doing this and that. Oh, we are doing it to free the women in Iran. Do you know that they have to wear a hijab everywhere they go and so on and so forth? Like, these devils care, right? And even the Iranian government isn't even going off on that because the women should have their heads covered, okay? Well, yeah, man, this is how Esau operates, right? How to try to justify his wicked ways. And you see this as well with these low-level Edomites as well, right? Because This is how these devils operate, man. They have to justify their wickedness. They keep pushing lies and deceit. That's how you have some devils that have been coming out screaming about how, oh, so-called Negro, the so-called Negro has a low IQ, and the so-called Negro has a low IQ. The so-called Negro is a criminal. The so-called Negro is killing white Edomites women left and right. All kinds of lies and deception. Just all kinds of lies and deceits. When we know who the man of sin is, we know who the devil, okay, on this earth is, right? The wicked has been revealed, as it's written in the book of 2 Thessalonians. Let's go to that. So this is the book of 2 Thessalonians, the 8th chapter. And then shall that wicked be revealed, whom Yahweh shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming. And the wicked has been revealed, right? So with that, I'll end the video right there. Once again, all praises, honor, and glory unto the Most High, Yahweh Basham Yahushai Basham Rakakwadash, Wa Abad Babal, and through the spirit of Yakim and Yakwata edified. Shalom.